Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this month's Tech Talk Advanced Course Plotting. The Coast Guard Tech Talks are sponsored by the U.S. Coast Guard, Coast Guard Auxiliary, and the Boy Scouts of America Sea Scout program. This month's Tech Talk builds off of last month's program, where we're going to go over advanced plotting, how you can chart a course with multi-legs. I want to remind you that this presentation is being recorded and will be posted to the AuxScout YouTube channel, where any of your Sea Scout shipmates that were not able to join us this evening for the live presentation can go anytime to view the advanced course plotting course, or you could also use it as a training tool with your Sea Scout ship. We take questions at the end for our subject matter expert, but please, if you have a question during the presentation, put it in the chat box, whether you're with us on Zoom or on Facebook Live, and we'll get those questions answered for you at the end of the presentation. Now, one quick thing before I introduce our subject matter expert. With the advanced course plotting, there is a chartlet, small chart, and a cruising problem for you to be able to work through to practice this material. So what I'm going to do is post a link in the chat box, and that link should take you to a Google Doc where you can open and download the chart and the cruising problem. Okay, so the link should be posted in the chat. And again, when you open the link, it should take you to the chartlet and the cruising problem. Okay, well, I would love to introduce our subject matter expert, Ed Martin. Ed Martin had a long career, about 40 years, with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, in the National Ocean Service. He's the retired Chief of Customer Affairs Navigation Services, Office of Coast Survey, and supported the NOAA goal to advance the nation's commerce with information for safe, efficient, and environmentally sound transportation. He began his career with the National Ocean Service in 1974, serving 18 years at sea, navigating over 200,000 nautical miles while conducting oceanographic research and hydrographic surveys along the Atlantic, Gulf coasts, and the Great Lakes. As supervisory cartographer, and I know you're very smart in the audience, so you know cartographer has to do with maps and charts. So Ed is highly qualified. As supervisory cartographer, he managed the nautical chart production, maintenance, and new chart construction teams. He also managed the Update Service Branch, responsible for the application of critical correction to all charts and the production of all digital chart productions. He published papers dealing with automated cartography, chart modernization, and new chart concepts. Not only was Ed a branch chief in the Prevention Directorate for Navigation Services, and chart updating, but also Ed was a Boy Scout, Life Member Eagle Scout, Order of the Arrow, and National Jamboree Counselor. So and I should mention, the lead Oceanography Merit Badge Counselor at the BSA National Jamboree in 2005, 2010, and 2013. So without further delay, I would like to turn it over to Ed for advanced course plotting.
Well, thank you, Mr. O'Neill. That was more than adequate. So let me share my screen and we'll get right into this. Now, as I understand, there we go. This is the advanced plotting course for your ABLE certification. And I'm going to be going over 10B tonight. Dead reckoning, widely used in navigation. It's one of the basic tools for navigation. The key elements for dead reckoning are the courses steered, the distance traveled, and the speed. And we don't consider any other factors in dead reckoning. Like I said, set and drift, those will be covered in another presentation. Okay. Before, one of the things, that I did a little bit of research on this, and it was sort of funny because they said Christopher Columbus was probably the first dead reckoning navigator, and he's quite good at it. But I would assume that there's probably a lot more that they just didn't call dead reckoning. And the term dead reckoning has a lot of different origins, but mostly you can call it dead reckoning, but mostly it's deduced reckoning. So, call it what you will. It's still it's essential skill of all navigators. You start with a known point and you go on, and if you lose your electronics or your GPS or something, you still have a base to go back to. You use dead reckoning for voyage planning, to avoid hazards. Estimate the time that it's going to take you to get from point A to point B. And it allows you at certain points in the course to maintain your actual progress. If you take bearings and to obtain a fix, you can compare that with your dead reckoning course or track line, and hopefully you're right on your line. If not, you correct for it. All right, so what do we do? How do we do this? All right, all lines are plotted on a chart, must be labeled. The symbols commonly used, I'll show you a little bit later. You always start with a fix. That's your known point of origin, and that's where you go off from with your distance and your track line. And then you can compute your speed. And there's symbology used in all dead reckoning. And it's something that you should be familiar with. DR positions are semicircles with the time associated with that position. Okay, so here you go with some of the nomenclature. The DR plot is a straight, the course line with your course in usually true. It's preferred true because all ships, all boats are different. You have magnetic, you have variation, deviation to come up with a compass course. So, if you record it in true, you can always come back. You can always correct for that course. Speed is usually written below the line with an S indicating speed, and it's always in knots unless you're in the Great Lakes or in the Mississippi River, and then it's statute miles. Then the DR position itself, usually written in a 24-hour clock, using the 24-hour clock, and usually 30 minutes, every 30 minutes to every, or an hour, depending on, you know, a lot of factors. But those are the basic premise. Lines of position are basically, you know, bearings to other objects, usually written with a time and a direction, an angle. Estimated position, we'll really get into that a little bit later. Visual fixes taken on bearings taken on fixed objects on shore. Electronic fix, again, you know, of course, we don't have LORAN anymore, but we do have radars and we do have GPS. A running fix, we'll get into that later on. Known position, usually alongside a fixed aid or something of that nature. I threw this in because I think everybody should have a little reference card when they're navigating. We've got compass variations, the time, speed, and distance circle. We've got position, DR, dead reckoning nomenclature. And of course, 1 nautical mile equals 1 minute of latitude. Everybody knows that, I'm sure. 6,000 feet equals 2,000 yards. 60 nautical miles, 1 degree of latitude, and so on and so forth. Little handy things to remember, especially when we're working, trying to come up with a DR plot. Okay, some terms. You don't need to really know all of these. And most material that I've gone through, only the Coast Guard Auxiliary Advanced Coastal Navigation class usually throws this in. The Chapman's in terms of DR don't really use all of this, but it's good to know because a lot of times, even if you're using electronics or the electronic nautical charts or chart plotters that are so common now, a lot of this is contained within those materials. So course of advance, basically it's intended path over the ground. The speed of advance, the same thing. It's what you intend to do. The track is your intended voyage. That's your track line, the one that we'll be drawing a little bit later. Course over ground. Course over ground is the actual, as is speed over ground. Actual. Those are some. I know that it gets a little complicated sometimes because course over ground, speed over ground, course of advance, those things tend to get a little bit blurred after a while. So it's nice to have a definition associated with them. Speed through the water is the apparent speed that you're running, or not. It's the apparent speed determined by an instrument or like a chip log, if you're familiar with that term. Something thrown over the side, and sometimes you throw it off the bow and you count the seconds between the bow and the stern. You know the length of your vessel, how long it took. You can compute your speed. Course made good. Somewhere, you know, that's the resulting of everything that took place during that voyage. It's basically course made good is what you actually accomplished. The same as speed made good. What did you actually accomplish over the entire period of time that you we're working with it. Line of position, I've already touched on. It's a bearing to a object that's on shore, usually a fixed object. We call them landmarks or fixed aid to navigation. An estimated position is an improved position, just based on your DR plot. We'll get into that also a little bit later on. A fix, any known position, either determined by electronics or if you're skilled with a sextant, you can take a noon sight or a moon lower limb. You can do shoot the stars, do some sextant work. So a fix is basically a known position, an actual position that's measured either by bearings or electronics. And current, it's one of the components for set and drift. And set and drift will be covered in the next chapter. Okay. There are standards of precision for latitude and longitude. For our work, for navigation, we can go to the nearest 10th of a minute. For direction, either the course headings, the bearings taken, your deviation, your variation, your set, your current set, we'll go to the nearest whole degree. I like to round off all these numbers at 0.5. If it's 0.6 and above, then you round up. If it's 0.5 and below, you round down. That's the easiest thing I can say. Speed, nearest 10th of a knot. Distance, to the nearest 10th of a nautical mile. And some people will differ on that, but usually it's a 10th of a nautical mile. And time to the nearest minute. Very rarely do people go into seconds with time. So the elements of a DR plot: direction, distance, and time. Direction, course to be steered. It's always when we do a DR plot, it's true, and true is always assumed. If you're going to write the course above the line, or you usually start with a C, the course in degrees, 3 digits, and if you're doing it by compass, you'll follow it with a C. If you're doing magnetic, you'll do it with an M. You'll put an M after the course itself. Measured in degrees, 0 through 360. Heading of 360 is always referred to as 000. You've probably already know this, looking at a compass rose, but the true is the geographical North Pole. Magnetic is the magnetic North Pole. The compass is compass north, and relative bearings from the boat's bow. You've got variation and deviation also in there. But for our purposes, the only thing that we're going to, that I've added to the problem was the variation for the area that we are in. or the chartlet that I put together for this. The second basic element is the line, the separation of 2 points. As we said before, point A, point B, point C, and so on and so forth. Where are you going? Nautical miles are used for all the navigable waters in the United States. 6,076 feet is in a nautical mile, 2,000 yards. And we measure that, we measure a nautical mile by 1 minute of latitude. And if you're looking at a paper nautical chart, that's the scale that's on the right or left side, if the chart is oriented north. Statute miles, like I said before, basically used on navigable rivers and the Great Lakes. The intercoastal waterway also uses statute miles. And of course, we all know that a statute mile is 5,000. The element for the DR plot is time, speed, and distance. This is the third element. If you know any two of these components, you can always figure the third. If you know, if you want to find the time, you can multiply the distance that of the line by 60 and divide by the speed that you're going to be traveling. To find the speed, of course, it's the distance times 60 divided by the time. Will give you the speed that you should be that you're making. To find the distance, and basically the two that we're going to use are the time and the distance. Speed times the time divided by 60 will give you distance in nautical miles. The time is always in minutes. So if you end up with 93 minutes, that's an hour and some odd seconds. If your speed is always in knots and your distance is always in nautical miles. Okay. The steps, pretty simple. You want to know where you're going. So you plot a course line and label it clearly and neatly. That just makes sense. I read in one that as you wouldn't do it very, you don't want to mark up your chart heavy-handedly. And this I found kind of interesting because, and you want to erase as you go along to keep the chart clear and clean. You want to erase your lines once you've established another fix and you're set and drift and so on. The previous line should be erased. Well, you can do that, but I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. But what I found interesting was to preserve the chart and preserve the neatness, to erase lightly and mark the chart lightly so that you don't destroy the chart. But anymore, I think that's going to have to be rewritten because by 2025, NOAA won't be producing paper charts anymore. So we're going to have to learn the electronic version. But electronics always have a tendency to somehow fail, especially on smaller craft. Large ocean-going vessels, Solus type vessels, don't have that issue because they have redundant systems for navigation. They have done away with the paper nautical chart in most cases. So it's only in the smaller vessels that we really worry about losing situational awareness of where we are on the face of the earth, especially in large bodies of water. That DR really comes in to its own. So it's always good for planning and for keeping track of where you are, because once you lose your electronics, you know, where are you? Where do you go from there? You usually have a last fix, but where am I going from that last fix? I draw a line with my course and speed, and then determine where I'm going to be at half hour intervals or hourly intervals. So the standard symbology, I showed you a cheat sheet on standard symbology. The semicircle for the DR position, usually a dot where the half hour falls, and then a semicircle around it. The DR position, at least every half hour. Every time you have a course change or a speed change, you also want to update your DR plot, because hey, it's all the course changes and the speed changes will change the outcome of the, you know, where you're going to be or where you want to go. Start a new DR plot from each fix, and the time is written in 4 digits. The course can be, like I said before, magnetic. True is usually understood, so we don't use the T. The C would be used, always expressed in 3 digits. Okay, so I think I've talked enough about just the basics of what a DR plot has. I think one of the best things to do is to really just jump in and see what we can do. So I put together a little chartlet and some questions and some guidance on like a little problem to solve. So we have a starting point. I call it a waypoint. It's really just a mark over a 59-foot wreck. A waypoint C, it's also over another wreck. And then with a return back to the entrance to Coast Guard Station Annapolis, which is located on Fishing Creek, by the way. So this is a chartlet, and A, B, and C are marked for you. Now, let me explain one thing. Most of the text and a lot of other material, the chart is using the old style 1/10 of a second graticule on the side for latitude and longitude. It's ones that look like triangle or elongated squares. This little chartlet uses an international scale, which are degrees, minutes, and seconds. And if you look at the scale on the side, you'll see that. So over on the right-hand side, you'll see a 50 50-second mark, and then each second up to 54 minutes. That's right here. Okay, so this is a minute. These are seconds. Every 5 seconds. So each graticule is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And 30 seconds obviously would be 0.5. Okay. The easiest thing to do on this scale, if you're going to convert to 1/10 of a minute, you're going to want to realize that you have to convert. So you take the seconds and divide by 60 to get 1/10 at the scale. So like 16, if you had 16 seconds, you divide that by 60 and you'd come up with 0.3 nautical miles. The same if you had 55 seconds, if you measured with your dividers, if you measured 55 seconds on that scale, that would be divided by 60 and you would end up with 0.9 nautical miles. Not quite a nautical mile. Okay. I hope that's clear because that confuses a lot of people. You have to convert to 1/10 of a second. And I apologize, but when we did this way back before I retired from NOAA, I was using the international scales. Okay. So using the chart section provided, and assuming a speed of 5 knots and a starting time of 0900, I know that you've probably already know how to determine latitude and longitude. Okay. So basically calculate the compass course true to the nearest degree for each leg, measure the distance for each leg in nautical miles to the nearest 1/10 of a nautical mile, and then calculate the leg time, assuming cruising speed of 5 knots. So what did I do? I'm going to give you the answers to all those questions. So we start off with A, and because this is a DR plot, we want to go to B, we want to go to C, and then we're going to go back to A. A just happens to be that light. That light is in known position, therefore it is a fix, and it's marked like a fix with a dot and a circle. B would be because it's not a fixed point, I determined that it would be just a DR position. The same with C. C being next to a buoy. The buoy is floating, so it's really a question of whether or not you want to use it as a fix or a DR position. But we start off at 0900. We draw the line to from A to B, and that course is 106 degrees true, and our speed is going to be 5 knots. Okay, how long is that line? Well, that line happens to be 2.6 nautical miles. At 5 knots, you're traveling 2.5 nautical miles. So there's your DR plot for your 30-minute at 0930. Using the time, speed, and distance, we determined that we're going to be at point B at 0931. we change course to get to C. And that course now is 010 degrees true. The speed is 5 knots. We're going to reach that distance is 2 nautical miles. That's going to take us 24 minutes to cover two nautical miles. So our time at sea is going to be 09:55. Now we change course again, back to A. Our course is 246 degrees true. The speed is going to be 5 knots. Okay, 09:55, that leaves me 5 minutes to get to 1000, correct? Well, 5 minutes at 5 knots comes out to be 0.4 nautical miles. So I drop a DR position at 1000 hours. If I've lost you, I'm always available to keep on, to answer any questions. Okay. The distance, this entire distance from C to A is 3.1 nautical miles. And we said before that, 2.5 nautical miles at 5 knots is 30 minutes. Well, we can travel that in 30 minutes. So again, a DR plot for 30 minutes at 10:30, and that's going to be our position. There's actually a position dot right there. Doesn't show up very well on the screen. Sorry, my apologies. Okay, so that leaves us another 2 minutes, because this entire line, well, it leaves us 2 minutes to get, I'm sorry, from 10:30, the distance from this DR plot to back to the mark is 0.2 of a nautical mile. And 0.2 of a nautical mile really is 2 minutes, closer to 2 minutes. So 10:32 would be our return time. 1 hour and 32 minutes to complete this course if we didn't stop at 5 knots. I hope that's clear as mud. Okay. We're pretty much done, except for reminders of what the rules are for a DR plot. You're only working with the course and speed and time. There's no other factors involved. You don't consider set and drift. You don't consider anything else. It's just from point A to point B. You plot it at convenient time intervals. If you're out in deep ocean waters, probably an hour is sufficient. If you're near shore, probably 30 minutes to 15 minutes is probably a wiser choice. DR positions are plotted whenever a fix or LOP is determined. And that's your starting point. A new DR plot is started whenever you have a fix, a running fix, or bearings, lines of position determines your fix at any given point along your course. Whenever you change speed or change direction, you always start. You always start a course start a new DR plot. A new DR plot should be started whenever a fix or running fix is obtained. That's pretty much the same as the DR positions plotted whenever a fix or running fix. Just a little bit of a reminder that whenever you have a new DR or fix should be started whenever you have a fix or a running fix, or when you start a new DR plot. So with that, that's pretty much all that was required for our original advanced plotting course for the Able 10B, which was all that was supposed to be covered tonight. So next time, if you'll have me back, we'll do a little bit more involved plotting. And with that, I can turn it back to PJ or.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ed.
All right.
So if you do have questions, you can post them in the chat and we can relay them to Ed to try to get you an answer to your question. One thing that that I was thinking, it's more of maybe a practical tip. So plotting this course, this three-legged course, pre-voyage would be pretty simple at my house, right? Because I have the space and I have a flat surface and things like that. And we're thinking of, smaller vessels, recreational vessels. Do you have any tips for updating your chart while you're underway? Say you're on a 22-foot boat and space is a little limited. Any practical tips?
There's one of the things that I came across in my studies was when you do your when you make up your DR plot when in your prior planning from at your house or at the dock or a stable platform, to take that plot and the chart, and I don't know whether you want to do this or not, but take that chart and they said cut it up and make a portfolio out of it, so that you could flip a page each time, and it would you would have your plot. But I see a drawback in that is if you're on a rather small scale chart with a large area, you're not going to be able to encompass all of the aids to navigation, all of the landmarks that you would need for visual bearings. So it'd be kind of hard to get a fix that way. Here again, you've got your GPS, you've got other means of taking a fix along your DR track, which would work very well. But if you lose any one of those, you're kind of out of luck. Same with if you get socked in by fog or weather or something of that nature, something that limits your visibility, that you can't see landmarks, you can't take a visual fix. You're kind of dependent on time, speed, and distance, and your DR track.
Okay.
But there's, in a small boat, no, there's no real great answer for you.
Great. Okay, any other questions? All right.
Yeah, it must have been good.
That's, as a teacher, that's what I would say too. Fantastic, right? Good presentation. So the reminder is that if you're tuning in tonight, as Ed alluded to, it can get a little tricky when you're walking through these problems and seeing it, and depending on your familiarity and with chart plotting, you may want to try the problem as Ed is walking through it and pause the video so that you can go back to your speed, time, and distance and work out the formulas so that you can really understand how you're coming up with your answers, right? And you're very fortunate that you have the answer to the cruise problem in the video, and that's intentional so that when you're practicing it, you can either say, you can check yourself, right? Either say, I must have went wrong somewhere because I didn't quite get that answer, or feel confident that you're obtaining the correct distances or time with the given speed. So please go back and use the video while you are practicing the cruising problem on your own with the included chartlet. I want to thank everyone for attending tonight's Coast Guard Tech Talk, and I hope you'll join us next month, May 24th, to further the topic with some navigation tricks. Have a great night, everyone.